The Mill on the Floss by George Elliot. A wide plain, where the broadening Floss hurries on between its green banks to the sea, and the loving tide rushing to meet it checks its passage with an impetuous embrace. On this mighty tide the black ships, laden with the fresh-scented fir planks, with rounded sacks of oil-bearing seed, or with a dark glitter of coal, are borne along to the town of St. Ogg's, which shows its aged, fluted red roofs and the broad gables of its wharfs between the low wooded hill and the river brink, tinging the water with a soft purple hue under the transient glance of this February sun. Just by the red-roofed town, the tributary Ripple flows with a lively current into the Floss. How lovely the little river is, with its dark, changing wavelets. It seems to me like a living companion while I wander along the bank and listen to its low, placid voice, as to the voice of one who is deaf and loving. I remember those large, dipping willows. I remember the stone bridge. And this is Dorlcote Mill. Even in this leafless time of departing February it is pleasant to look at. Perhaps the chill, damp season adds a charm to the trimly kept, comfortable dwelling-house, as old as the elms and chestnuts that shelter it from the northern blast. The stream is brim-full now, and lies high in this little withy plantation, and half drowns the grassy fringe of the croft in front of the house. Let me tell you what the inhabitants of that dwelling-house, Mr. and Mrs. Tulliver, were talking about as they sat by the bright fire in the left-hand parlour on that very afternoon. "What I want, you know," said Mr. Tulliver, "what I want is to give Tom a good edication, and edication'll be a bread to him. That was what I was thinking of when I gave notice for him to leave the academy at Lady Day. I mean to put him down to a downright good school at midsummer. The 2 years at the academy I'd ha' done well enough if I'd meant to make a miller and farmer of him, for he's had a fine sight more schooling nor I ever got. All the learning my father ever paid for was a bit of birch at one end and the alphabet at t'other. But I should like Tom to be a bit of a scholard, so as he might be up to the tricks of these fellas as talk fine and write with a flourish. It'd be a help to me with these lawsuits and arbitrations and things. I wouldn't make a downright lawyer of the lad. I should be sorry for him to be a rascal. But a sort of engineer or surveyor or an auctioneer and valuer, like Riley, or one of them smartish businesses are all profits and no outlay, only for a big watch chain and a high stool. They're pretty nigh all one, and they're not far off being even with the law, I believe. For Riley looks Lawyer Wakeham at the face as hard as one cat looks another. He's none frightened at him." Mr. Tulliver was speaking to his wife, a blonde, comely woman, in a fan-shaped cap. I am afraid to think how long it is since fan-shaped caps were worn. They must be so near coming in again. At that time, when Mrs. Tulliver was nearly 40, they were new at St. Ogg's, and considered sweet things. "Well, Mr. Tulliver, you know best. I've no objections. But hadn't I better kill a couple of fowl and have the aunts and uncles to dinner next week, so as you may hear what Sister Glegg and Sister Pullet have got to say about it? There's a couple of fowl wants killing." "You may kill every fowl of the yard if you like, Bessie, but I shall ask neither aunt nor uncle what I'm to do with my own lad," said Mr. Tulliver defiantly. "Dear heart," said Mrs. Tulliver, shocked at this sanguinary rhetoric. "How can you talk so, Mr. Tulliver? But it's your way to speak disrespectful of my family, and Sister Glegg throws all the blame upon me, though I'm sure I'm as innocent as the babe unborn." Mr. Tulliver had the marital habit of not listening very closely, and since his mention of Mr. Riley had been apparently occupied in a tactile examination of his woollen stockings. "I think I've hit it, Bessie," was his first remark, after a short silence. "Riley's as likely a man as any to know of some school. He's had schooling himself, and goes about to all sorts of places, arbitrating and valuing and that. And we shall have time to talk it over tomorrow night when the business is done. I want Tom to be such a sort of man as Riley, you know, as can talk pretty nigh as well as if it was all—"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?